Hey YouTube, this is the Death Scouter making another video, and today we're going to be changing out the stock exhaust on a 2013 Wrangler JK, and we're going to be putting on a catback system. So we're going to go from a single exhaust pipe to a dual exhaust pipe kit made by Pypes, and I just want to show you that these are 15 millimeter nuts holding these clamps on. So we're right here at the rear of the car, and let's follow it up. So we're going to have something to disconnect here, right at the muffler. I'm going to follow the pipe up. This is the factory resonator that we're going to get rid of. We got a couple of hangers, rubber hangers we're going to deal with, and then another 15 millimeter nut on this clamp here. So the secret here, according to people, is to get enough penetrating oil on here that we are able to get this off. The rest of the system is actually, rust free and corrosion free, so I'm not expecting a whole lot of problems here getting this disassembled. You just need a good pry bar to get these hangers off of these hanger mounts right here, which I do have a good pry bar. I'll show you that when the time is right. But what we need to do now is focus on getting two clamps, and once these clamps are off, we can hammer away at this to pull back and separate this clamp joint right here, and then the new exhaust is just going to fit into place, and when we have everything laid out the way we'd like it, then we will come back and tighten everything up. Should not be a terrible install. Okay, so first things first, as you can see, I've sprayed some WD-40 on here, and my weapon of choice today is 15 millimeter deep socket with my, what is this, maybe 20 inch breaker bar, 14 inch breaker bar, something like that. So I'm just going to see if I can loosen this here, and with this bar I most certainly can. Alright, so that's actually good enough for here, because I'm back here now, right at the rear differential, back of the Jeep, right at the muffler. This is so easy to get to that I knew that I was not going to have a problem here. It's the other clamp up towards the resonating chamber that I'm going to have a concern with. So let's take a trip. Here we go. Alright, so unlike the other, where an intelligent person would have put this clamp on with the bolt facing down, since that 1 inch certainly was not going to impact ground clearance at all, some genius here put this one facing upwards. So now I have to see if I will be able to get this socket in here, and whether or not I'm actually able to get to this freaking thing. Now, this is not going to be reused, so let's be honest here. If I have too much trouble getting this stupid clamp off, I'm going to pull out I tried an open-end wrench on here, just no room to work. That's all there is to it. So, weapon of choice, 3 inch wheel cutter, and I'm going to cut right across the side of that bolt. If I can, or anywhere I want to, actually. I could just cut right across the bottom. As long as I cut the clamp, it doesn't really matter where I cut, because it's going to be ruined one way or the other. So I'm going to do my best to cut across the bottom of this clamp. If I go a little deeper and hit this pipe, it's no big deal, because it's coming off the system anyway. And then, yeah, because even with the cutter, see how much trouble I'm trying to manipulate all this. I've got the freaking frame in the way, and the tool's too big to fit. I'm just going to cut straight across the bottom of that clamp. Let's see if I can do this with the one-handed, with the camera running. I kept running the wheel back and forth across there. Obviously there was tension on this clamp, and as soon as I did that, I heard it snap, and you can see that it did in fact separate. So I'm just going to hammer this off, and then I'm just going to go ahead now and get my pry bar and start removing my pipes from these rubber hangers, and then everything should be dismantled. I'll go in the back and finish removing the nut that's facing in the intelligent direction. And then once everything is disconnected, it's all just a matter of disassembly. Okay, so now I'm at the part now where I'm taking my pry bar, and trust me, for this project, you will need a decent pry bar. This is a Harbor Freight Chinese junk store special, and all I did here, put this angled tip up there against the edge, the bottom here against the bottom of the muffler, and see how I pulled like that? See how easily that's separated? Alright, so that hanger is now out of the way. This clamp has been loosened, and now I move over to the passenger side of the fender. Passenger side of the muffler, and we're gonna have to dick with this one up here. So same process. We need to find a way to get up underneath here so that we could put the edge of that pry bar against the hanger and pull out. And I'll tell you what, look, I'm right-handed, and I'm doing this with my left hand, and look how easily this works when you got the right tool. So just prying back, I'm using the exhaust tip. You see, I'm up over the exhaust and then underneath the hanger, and I'm pulling back, and look how easily it's pulling off of that. So I just need to put some finishing touches on there to pry that off. So with two hands it'll be no issue at all, but that's how I'm doing that. And then we'll start disassembly and work our way towards the front. It didn't take any time at all to pry that off when I did it as a two-hand job. Now I just grab the muffler, and look, my muffler's rotating where on that piece of pipe where the clamp is. Now with two hands, and you're gonna love me if my camera's not aiming the right way. I'm just gonna start working this off. So I made about a ½ inch of gain so far, just wiggling it. And we've got another hanger just up there, just next to the tire that we're dealing with. So why don't I just go ahead here and keep going ahead and prying off all the hangers. That seems to be. So I got the muffler. Look how much the muffler's hanging down. So this is no problem at all. We actually looked at the entire pipes wiggling from here to the front. So this is no big deal. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and get this hanger off here next to the driver's side rear tire. And then when that's down, this thing is all pretty much just going to fall apart and fall backwards. So let me, again, I apologize for camera on and camera off. I want to film it as I go as best I can, but I am a one-man show, so sometimes I need both hands. So we'll come back. Now let me show you something that would be easy as hell to make this thing go in fast as hell, is to take this skid plate off over the transfer case. So a bolt there, and apparently two up front, and then this whole thing, because here's the trouble I'm having, is trying to get this to drop down. So we're at the point now where we're putting everything back in place and trying to get all the hangers and pipes to line up. Now I am a little concerned because it looks like these pipes are just long enough. If you can look in there, they're just long enough to cover up the gaps. And I'm so afraid that I'm going to end up with a, see that? I get it to fit up front, and I get a gap here in the back. I am not impressed at this point with this freaking system. I think, you know, it wouldn't have killed them it would not have killed them at all to have a extra inch or two on this mid pipe, considering how much space it has that it could be recessed. So this mid pipe is really 2 inches minimum, 2 inches too short. And I'm yep, there it is. If you look down in there, you see that? That's the end of the pipe. So they're these are gonna just fit, and then I'll have to clamp the shit out of these to make sure they don't move. And what I'll have to do is just so I don't have leakage, I'm gonna have to start at the front and tighten, and then pull everything back and try to get every fraction of an inch out of this goddamn thing. But this goddamn mid pipe is no shit. This is 2 inches too short, and I told these clowns that I did have a 4-wheel drive model, which they should have adjusted for the length of this pipe, because I'm a 4-wheel drive. I'm sorry, a 4-door, not 4-wheel drive. So that's what we're going to have to do. So one of the things that I've done, I mean, they do have these insulators. They tell you to reuse the hangers, yet they appear to give you 3 brand new hangers. They do warn you that if this clamp is going to interfere with the transfer case, not to use it, just to use a regular clamp. I am contemplating how likely it is that I can use this clamp on here, and I think from what I'm looking at, I'm going to be okay. Now, one thing that I did have to do is I did take the clamp, because it comes with freaking screws on it, and this is how you're going to hang it. Now, this is shit. I mean, let's just say it. This is pure shit. They say that this clamp here next to the transfer case is not needed if it is going to interfere. But you know what? This hanger, the clamp has to go up here. The hanger is back an extra inch. This is so I'm not going to use. I am not going to use this hanging clamp here. So that's just going to come right off. I'm going to have to come back here. Just want to show you what's going on. I know the camera work sucks. I'm going to have to pull that back apart and put a regular clamp on there. Come back here. I'll clamp this here. I guess if the clamp is tight enough, this gap that concerns me so much, that should have been all the way down here in this pipe, not all the way to fuck back here. I guess if I clamp it tight enough, I'm going to be okay, technically speaking. But you know, that's not a lot of pipe, considering how heavily these Jeeps are going to be bouncing around and going over stuff. So then I'll come back here and with the muffler hanging where I want it to be. At this point, I'm kind of pretty much committed. I mean, the pipe only fits but so much, and then I'll put my tips on, passenger side tip, driver side tip, and I'll go in the house and call Pypes on the phone and scream at them and tell them they owe me a pipe that's 2 inches longer. So, all right, thanks. So at this point, this in short is going to wrap up the installation of the pipe system. I'm not overly impressed with them at this point. So some bitch better sound good, because if it doesn't sound good, I'm really going to be pissed off. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I got all the hangers back in place. This is a lot lighter than the stock pipe, so it's going to take off. It's going to get rid of that resonator box. It's going to lighten it up by about 7 or 8 pounds, I suppose. And this is not a performance exhaust, meaning that it is not going to change my flow too much. But with this resonator box off, it will certainly change the tone and the note of the exhaust. So thanks for watching. This is, as you know, I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy doing this shit out in the driveway or out in the street and showing you what you're going to go through as if you're a beginner or a novice just like I am. So a couple of tools, 15 millimeter socket, 17 millimeter socket, and a die cutter to cut all that crap out of the way. Thanks.